Let's go live to central London. Let's talk to Natasha Hausdorff, who's a barrister and international law expert who also liaises with UK lawyers in Israel. Thank you so much for being here on the programme. Jan Egeland, when he was talking to the BBC, absolutely clear in his mind that the forced displacement of people he thought was a breach of international law, a breach of the Geneva Convention. What is your assessment of what international law says?
Well, certainly the majority of the discussion so far has been on the question of proportionality. And I think it's important to take a moment to reflect on what is being suggested in that context. And that it seems to be is that there are not enough Jews who have died to justify Israel's response according to this conception of proportionality. Matthew, that is not only morally reprehensible, but also legally illiterate. Proportionality in international law is not comparing casualty figures. Under international humanitarian law, the principle of proportionality forbids attacks in which expected civilian casualties will be excessive in relation to the anticipated military advantage gained. And that is an assessment conducted on a case-by-case basis.
But the Israelis are not arguing proportionality. They are arguing that they have taken measures for self-defence, and the IDF were on the programme only about 5-7 minutes ago saying they differentiate between civilians and targeting the millions that are hiding amongst the civilians. That is what they are laying out. They are disputing quite a lot of what you said initially.
Well, they're certainly not. There are three key principles of international humanitarian law: necessity, distinction, which is the differentiation between civilians and combatants, and proportionality. And what the IDF have been saying is that in this operation, as in previous operations, they uphold international law. In fact, they go above the requirements of international law in many respects. And so far as proportionality is concerned, international law simply requires Israel to try to minimize the number of civilian casualties per strike, which the IDF is doing, including through the use of targeted precision strikes and by warning civilians to leave certain neighborhoods. So the question that you have posed of the encouragement of an evacuation to the south of Gaza is entirely consistent with that duty of minimizing civilian harm. Proportionality is hugely significant. It has nothing to do, Matthew, with the relative number of people killed on both sides. And the reason for that, I have to stress, is clear, because when you judge appropriateness of an attack based upon the number of people who died, you do not protect civilians. You incentivize Hamas's use of civilians as human shields.
Natasha, we have to leave it there because we are running out of time, and I appreciate you joining us on BBC News, but I want to squeeze in one more interview before we take a break.